to do. And this show brought to you by Gaming Malta in collaboration with Hyundai, Intercom, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy, and JCap. Adam, simply put, was a dominant display from Sheldon Muscat. Did exactly what he needed to do over at Monza, and he's just getting better and better.
Absolutely. You kind of expect those type of performances from a driver of his caliber, and I really do believe he's going to try and find that form once again around this South African circuit. But you just see that dominant margin of 35 seconds. You just think, what can't this man do in his big Bentley? It has been such a dominant kind of pairing to go with them. Muscat x Bentley, it is one to really be feared going into the rest of the season. How many wins could he get in the 4 that we have? We do not know. It could be 4, it could be 3, it could be 1 if he has some struggles. But there you can see the championship, 114 points does Sheldon Muscat have. To Adrian Manduka's 94, he'll be looking to try and gain on that with Aaron De Baptista in 3rd place, with Denzel Adjus there in 4th. Ryan Carabot putting himself in 5th. 3 races in the last couple of races by him. Of course, still trying to get used to that Ferrari 296 GT3, with Alexander Galea ahead of Samuel Mifsud. Those two gaining points with Jamie Smith in 8th, and then of course the other Adjus down in 9th, with Darryl Martinelli rounding out the top 10 on 32 points. But yeah, so interesting there in the standings here, Jake. Where do you kind of see this all going once we get into that session? Because of course, anything could really be thrown up around this Kyalami circuit, knowing the nature of this place.
Well, I'm sure we're going to find just what makes everything tick out there. It's 20 points, the championship lead. And so when you sit down and look at it on paper and you see the way that Sheldon Muscat's been driving, yeah, he's been absolutely fantastic. But we can't count Aaron De Baptista's qualifying efforts out of the realms of possibility just yet, because we are sitting here with a really, really good opportunity to see what these drivers are able to do. And he's not been too bad. Now, this Kylami circuit we've been talking about is very technical, but it does have the 2 big overtaking opportunities out there, which is, of course, going to be into Crowthorne Corner, which starts the lap out as you go forward. And then, of course, you've got the run in through Sunset, which could certainly be a place. And then Lurkop could be another one where you could find a pass potentially, and maybe even down into the Crocodiles after that descent down the mine shaft. It's a technical lap out there. It does require drivers to be pretty pinpoint as they go around here, Adam, and it's one of those tracks where you just got to sit and be patient from time to time.
Yeah, it's going to take a while for some of our drivers to get up to speed around the circuit. Of course, they do have an hour of practice beforehand, but sometimes that hour is just not enough. So you're kind of spending half of qualifying still trying to find the limits of this circuit, and as well as trying to put in a best lap time. So it's such a difficult mix if you just don't quite well know this circuit. And speaking of this circuit, we're now heading into qualifying here. Aaron De Baptista, the first driver we're seeing on our screens as he heads through the first couple of corners. 10 cars out on the circuit, so they'll manage to find some clean air. I think the main thing at this moment in time is just don't run into any traffic, and you should be all good. But yeah, sometime being put in earlier, 41.1 for De Baptista in his McLaren.
Well, he'll be certainly looking to try and showcase what he's all about. Of course, it's all about getting that lap time in early, and he has certainly done that, being half a second clear at the moment in the Intercom VMD Sim Sport car that he's got there. His McLaren certainly flying on all cylinders out there. Ryan Carabot here, of course, Adrian Manduka's yet to set a representative flying lap time out there. So there is certainly going to be a case to be made that those drivers will be the ones who are trying to set down that pace and make sure that challenge works. Now dropping down the hill out of Lurkop Corner and in towards that mine shaft. This is definitely an off lap here from Aaron De Baptista as he heads towards the Crocodiles, and really a very interesting interesting end towards the lap that you got. The Crocodiles, which is this wonderful overtaking opportunity with the latest apex in the world. You've then got this small descent over towards the left, which opens up this right-hand kink of Cheetah Corner, and then that leads over to Ingwe Corner, which is the Tigers Corner, to end the lap out there. And as they look and charge on the power and look to get going again, Aaron De Battista will try and find that pace. Adrian Manduka wakes up to the tune of second position, just a tenth of a second adrift, and it means that qualifying is not as much of a formality as we first thought.
Yeah, he's put in a good time there. Only a tenth of Aaron De Baptistis, but I'm sure there's still a lot of time left on the board. And I think that at this moment in time, it's just about getting that car settled and into the position of where it needs to be. It looks like it's going to be sun, or shall I say, clear conditions all throughout the kind of the qualifying the race. Of course, 5 o'clock start time in Kyalami, of course, so I don't expect to be seeing any sort of sunsets, any sort of kind of sun or vision, any kind of vision problems during there. So just not making sure, because I saw on the on our things, we saw that it was going to be quite late start, so kind of a little bit of a little thing to take into consideration, but it seemed to be no problems for now.
Yeah, certainly no issues out there for him at this point, but at least here he'll be hoping to try and really motor on as we head through about a third's worth of qualifying at this stage. Sheldon Muscat, third fastest here at 0.2 of a second adrift. Then it is John Agius there out there in fourth position, looking to try and really make some progress happen in the Mustang. So that Mustang certainly is looking like it's up there for a race. Karabot fifth, and then Denzel Agius, who's not necessarily the strongest qualifier in the world there, in sixth position, but his Project Aversio car is looking to be a better race machine out there. It's something we have noted time and time again with the way that Denzel Agius drives. He pretty much warms up to the race, and actually that's been the Project Aversio way. It's really been over the course of these races. Not the greatest qualifiers in the world, but when they get into race pace, they can sometimes be very difficult to stop.
They can be, and they've just been growing over the course of the season and really trying to get into the form they have been. Agius has been really well putting that car together, and of course got his second place last time out at Monza, so hopefully that confidence will carry, but it has taken a bit of a skew with that 2-week break, so I wonder how there'll be an effect in that one. A momentary yellow flag, but it seems like the course is all clear for now. But you can see there the kind of the characteristics around this circuit, and how you have to try and get the car tipped in and through some of the corners. We now see Chris Gatt in the beautiful kind of Formula One McLaren inspired livery as he heads that around the circuit. Of course, Gatt not been one of the best competitors in the series, but he's been really working away to see if he can improve his game, and he has gotten some decent results, but he's just going to be ever pushing for more and more every single time he gets in that McLaren.
So he's looking to try and improve. He's there at 3.5 seconds adrift at the moment, running through this middle sector now of the lap, the very important section. This is a circuit that has gone through many different iterations they've gone through. That used to be the start-finish straight that they were running. They used to run in the opposite direction. This used to be a clockwise circuit. Now it's an anti-clockwise circuit around this track. And really, from where you got the brand new section of the circuit, it's really only that main straight that's held over the years in terms of what it brings to racing. So that's going to be important to note in the sense that the history of this circuit, they are on this brand new Kyalami and certainly having that joy and fun that goes around it. Karabot currently sixth fastest, has just fallen behind Denzel Agius and John Agius. John has moved to 0.4 of a second off at the moment because the times have changed up at the top. Sheldon Muscat has stolen that pole away now by 0.75 of a tenth. So the Mustang certainly proving that it's worth a little bit of pace out there. And we've got cars pulling over to the side, getting out of the way before they look to try and get their qualifying efforts back sorted once more.
Yeah, absolutely. You've only got 10 minutes remaining of this session, so you can get a couple of laps in. But it is about the best time to kind of get yourself sorted, ready for the last couple of laps. Get that fuel down almost empty before going out on your last couple of laps. See the flowing sequence of corners here with Aaron De Baptista taking a lot of runoff there, just trying to get the fastest way around the circuit. He'll be hard on the brakes. He gets up the hill and in towards this hairpin section before powering it all the way down, really trying to carry with all the momentum into this fast section through the left. You can see there a little bit of braking, but not too much. You want to be carrying a lot of speed here, but keeping it tight to that left-hander before carrying it all the way through the long right-hander. Then you're really just trying to carry a lot of speed through here. De Baptista just trying to get this lap all together to see if he could potentially put that back onto pole position. I'm not entirely sure what the sector times are looking like, but we'll have to see how De Baptista will try and make this go. He's going to cross the timing beam now, and where's this going to put him? It's going to be pole. It's going to be provisional pole position by just over a tenth of a second. So De Baptista putting that back onto pole position, nabbing it off the Bentley, and we'll have to see how that McLaren goes around once again, because Manduka may see that and be a little bit inspired 3/10 back.
Well, Manduka will be inspired. John Agius at half a second certainly will be inspired as well. De Baptista running wide there, going up the hill into Barbecue Bend, and as such will abandon this lap for one of opportunity. So over the halfway stage, De Baptista from Muscat from Manduka at the moment. It's third, first, and then second in the championship. There is Samuel Mifsud out there in the Fox Sprint racing car, the Ferrari making its progress around the track and hoping to really fly on through with 8 minutes to go here in qualifying. Has certainly been knocking on the door a little bit here, hoping for a strong result out there, but has been sort of stuck at about a second to 2 seconds back when it's come to qualifying effort, so is looking to try and find a bit of improvement in that department, but is certainly finding the building blocks.
He really has been looking to just try and build on every single result. Of course, Mifsud has been quite the midfield runner. He's really been one of those drivers that's constantly trying to work his way in the midfield and got his best result all the way back at the beginning of the season in Zolder when he got that, I believe, 6th place. It was a 5th place in my era in that one. So yeah, he's been one of those midfield drivers, not quite being able to break into the top 5 every single time, but again, it's one of those kind of test and trial where you'll make a lot of errors kind of game. Of course, this competition is never the lightest of sim games to pick up and play. It's one of those where you get really challenged. Mifsud over the line, and he does a personal best, but stays in 7th, still a second off De Baptista, with the McLaren looking to go, with the Ferrari really looking to see if he can maybe put that into the top 10. But we'll have to continue to see here. Daniel Martinelli rejoins us here in the Ferrari. Wasn't here, I believe, last time. Oh no, he was my era around Monza. And again, he's going to try and continue his form, picking up 12 points last time around at the Ferrari's home circuit.
Well, at the home circuit, he's certainly hoping to find it, or did find actually a little bit of something out there he did at the home circuit. But here in Kyalami, I think it's been a little bit more troublesome out there for the Ferraris. Manduka has gone second quickest, and he's a 10th of a second adrift currently at this moment. So there is certainly going to be, for Adrian Manduka, a sense that he can find it. Darryl Martinelli at 1.2 seconds adrift, just pulls over to the right-hand side. Is going to let the Averso McLaren go through of Denzel Agius and actually pull back to the pit and reset, get back out into line. It does take a couple laps for the tyres to be in full operating window, so we are going to be potentially seeing here, Adam, drivers pulling into the pits at 5 minutes, at 4 minutes, trying to get the tyre temperature for not the first lap they go around, but the second lap they go around here.
Yeah, of course, these tyres do take a while to get up to temperature. If you are listening in or watching and you're very much aware of Formula 1, it is not like Formula 1 whatsoever in terms of these tyres. They take multiple laps to get up to temperature. They've got some very hard carcasses to try and get through, and it does take a while for a lot of these tyres to get up to temperature. You really have to go through all the phases, and that's why it's so difficult, especially on a race like that. That's why you might see a little bit of carnage every single single first lap at a GT3. Look at John Adgis really trying to wrestle the car through these corners in his Ford Mustang, really flying the US flag high, as well as just trying to carry the horse on the side of the car to as high as the place as possibly can. Of course, half a second off, not too bad, but a bit of a wiggle out of the hairpin section as he heads in towards this final sweeping left-hander. Of course, now having to go hard on the brakes. See the lights there on the back of the car flashing up to get the car slowed right down, using all the exit as he possibly can without getting a penalty as well. Actually swinging in the rear. Oh, but he's hit the curb too much and gone through the gravel trap, and now he's going to have to go again here. So he's going to have to just try and reset himself very, very quickly and on to that potential last 2 or 3 laps.
Ryan Carabot has moved up 4th fastest at 3.5 tenths of a second adrift. Sheldon Muscat we look at then through the Sunset Bend and looking to go up through at the clubhouse corner here up at the top end of the circuit. Now looking to try and battle towards the S's, maybe slides a little bit wide as Samuel Mifsud is at 1 second now, and Jamie Smith down into the pits at 1.7 seconds adrift at the moment. So keep an eye out on the times. Muscat up at the top of the hill to Luakop corner here, which is this very difficult 120-degree left-hander, which continues on down the hill, and you head for the mine shaft. It plateaus out as you go through into this corner, so you need all of the grip available to the back end of the car. And before you hit the brakes and hit the Crocodiles corner, this is where you got to slow it up. You got a lot of room on the exit, so you can attack it a lot quicker than maybe you think you can. Now in through Cheetah corner, using all of the road and then some, trying to get that lap time sorted, and running through Ingwe corner, which is the Tiger corner in I believe Kinyarwanda, the language is. Muscat over towards the line after his push. It's a 41.035. It won't matter much because look at Adrian's time. He's now almost 3 tenths clear.
That's a big, big time there from the Ferrari, and that's exactly what he needs. He has really been doing his homework in the pit lane to make sure that he can get that car in the perfect spot. Maybe not quite showing his hand in those first maybe 10, 15 minutes, but it's in those last 5 where you've definitely got to show something. And boy, has he shown that he has got pace in that Ferrari. 41.7, and now Muscat has gone out again. If you look at the little icon, if you have a look there at the top of the map, you see that blue 14. That is Muscat going out again. 2 minutes 20 to go here in Kyalami, and my goodness, we have got a real fight on our hands. He's got 4 tenths to find.
Well, he won't be helped up the hill here as he runs through the Juksky sweep, trying to get that all together. Muscat will get the move down through on the inside of the McLaren there. I believe that is Chris Gatt he's managed to find himself around with. So he's certainly done what he needed to do there on that lap. It would have compromised him a little bit. He will have one more attempt. Manduka is down in the pits, so I would suggest that he feels he can't improve on his lap time, and he's going to leave it up here, Adam, to the lap of the gods, which either one of the 2 VMD Intercom cars is going to find, or maybe the Ferrari of Ryan Carabot, if he can get to grips here with what's going on. De Battista running up through at Barbecue Bend and hoping that his time is going to work as he now heads to Sunset.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, like you say, with the Ferrari and the McLaren, they're very much quite agile cars. They can get through the corners, and for the Bentley, it's more of the straights that you want. And when you see that kind of section of the south part of the circuit, you kind of think, well, that's going to be well more suited to the McLaren and the Ferraris. And you're absolutely correct. That is kind of really going to be suiting this car right here, Aaron De Baptista, who's going to try and maybe steal that provisional pole position back off Adrian Manduka. Manduka, who does sit in the pit lane here, so I don't know if he's going to be going out again. He can't. In fact, he's just going to sit there and hope that nobody takes that position off him. We would have seen that gap and thought, well, that's it for me. I don't need to go out again. De Baptista is really going to be on the push here, Jake.
He certainly will. 25 seconds remaining here and heading through Cheetah Corner with the anti-cut curb there on the inside that you have to really worry about. And I think this is gearing up for one more lap with just the way that he's been very antsy through the final sector. He'll cross the line with about 8 seconds remaining here on the clock. It's a 42.2, so that was a case of a slightly quicker lap, but not one where he can really push at it. This will have to be the push lap as the checker flag is now out and drivers will be looking around. John Agius cannot improve on his time, but everybody's up at the top end of the circuit. De Battista running out of Yuksky and into Barbecue and now onto the original front stretch here at Kyalami, hoping to get what is needed. Jamie Smith in the number 1 car can't improve on 9th position overall. We'll keep an eye out on the 12 car, which will be the first to cross the line, which will be Samuel Mifsud. And De Battista with a mistake through Clubhouse will pull the car over to one side. So that'll be that. So it's up to Sheldon Muscat and Ryan Carabot. Carabot is the last car out on circuit. Muscat's heading through the final corner of Ingler right now. So that's going to be where the focus is. Sam Mifsud's just gone 6th quickest. He's jumped Denzel Agius in terms of his time. Muscat will be heading to the line now and he will not improve. So now it just sits on Ryan Carabot right now as he looks to go through. Gat will be the car in front that will look to improve. Who doesn't? Ryan Carabot. Does he find enough? No, he found a 10th, but no more. Adjo Manduka has a sizable pole here at Kyalami.
That's a beautiful, beautiful pole lap and a much needed one. And especially with his championship rival being put down onto the second row of the grid. Well, he's going to be looking at that and absolutely beaming. But here in the commentary box, we all know about Sheldon Muscat's race pace. It is a different breed when it comes to Muscat's race pace, and he's proved it time and time again that he does not need that qualifying session. He can just go and throw that into the back of his mind and then go again in the race. But it is still a massive question mark on how that Bentley will go around in terms of race pace. We've seen the qualifying pace is not as quick as the Ferraris. But overall, it has been such a close qualifying session. But that kind of bridge of Muscat's pole position, that's going to mean so much, and a boot of confidence is going to be needed, especially after that after his incident in Monza.
Yeah, he certainly will do, and he will look at that boost of confidence in the next few moments. We're going to step aside for one moment with your ACER Malta GT3 Championship, brought to you by Gaming Malta in collaboration with Hyundai, Intercom, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy, and JCap. On the other side of this, it's race time, and we'll see who has got the legs here at Kyalami.
Life these days.
The all-new Hyundai Kona. Seriously fun.
This is the iconic oven-baked cheesy crick snack you've always loved. And this, it's Cricks too. Can you spot the difference? No? That's because there isn't one. Cricks still has the same irresistible crunchy goodness, wrapped in a stylish new packet. Same delicious flavour, brand new look. So snack lovers, get ready to spot Cricks in the snack aisle. Cricks, same iconic taste, new stylish pack. Now in sharing pack size.
And so to one full revolution of the circuit, which will form the base lap here around for this, the formation lap they have already going forward. Then 45 minutes with one pit stop required in the pit stop window, which opens at 2.5 minutes and closes with 2.5 minutes to go. It is Adrian Manduka, your pole sitter, with Aaron De Battista alongside him. The championship leader, Sheldon Muscat, is going to have some work to do from third position overall with his championship lead of 20 points in the back pocket, which he will be looking to try and hold on to. It's 6 points difference between first and second positions overall as we're just about getting ourselves ready to launch here around the lap. Jake Sperry and Adam Reed here with Velocity Esports Racing. Adam, it was a great qualifying, but 45 minutes around here, this is a track which will lull you into a mistake.
It will do. I've already spoken about the tyre temperatures. They're going to take a while to get up to that kind of temperature they need to work around this circuit. Of course, such a technical circuit. We've been speaking about this. I know you've already seen the last 16 minutes of that qualifying session with the 20 that they got. And it's going to hold so much challenges. To keep your concentration around here for 45 minutes is going to be a big ask for these sim racers. But if anyone is up to the task, it is these guys. Some of the best in multi-ACC sim racing. And a lot of these drivers have a lot to prove here. I think a lot of them are going to be very hungry to try and get a result here. You can already see Manduka now backing up the pack to try and get them into formation. It's going to be a little bit of a scruffy getaway because, of course, they got those last two corners where it's just so tight and so narrow. And you get in towards that left-hander, you've then got to accelerate to the line. But, of course, only 10 cars is not too bad, but in a longer field, it would be a tad worse. But yeah, Manduka just got to try and get off the line, and then he's got to start building that gap. So that's going to be his main focus. What about Muscat? I think Muscat's going to be a big threat here. Unless the car is not connected with the circuit, then he's going to have a big struggle to try and get through this race.
I don't think there's a circuit where Sheldon Muscat isn't a threat. I think that's very much worth keeping in mind. The margin that he won last time out to go 3 straight here after Manduka took the opener at Zolder, I think is rather important to keep in the back of the mind. But when it comes to Adrian Manduka, he's not necessarily known as the best qualifier in the world. The fact he's put the car on pole, I think, speaks statements to how well I think he's going to go today. So let's see what he can do as they now run themselves over towards Ingwe Corner, the Tiger Corner, out on circuit, rounding that final launch. They have to go at pit limiter speeds until the drop of the green flag, otherwise they will get a jump start for being too quick as they rush around the track. Let's get ourselves ready. 45 minutes here at Kyalami, and it begins just about now. A long hold as they had to wait all the way for the gantry for the green light to drop, and De Battista has got a lovely cadence through the middle gears as they make the run to Crowthorne Corner here. Turn number 2, diving on the brakes then, looking for the jukebox sweep, the Yuk Sky sweep, as they now run up the hill, the right and the left, and they form single file, making this double decker intercomp sandwich with bread, which is on rye, which is a Versio as it goes. Carabot in 4th, Muscat third, De Battista second, and it's Muscat with what he wants in 5th, a bit of battling further back.
Absolutely, I thought Carabao was going to try and make a move on the Bentley, but it just looks like for the moment and now we ride on board with Seb Bentley. He has just got to keep himself in tandem with both Manduka and De Baptiste. They're going to be looking to extend that gap. Of course, Muscat's going to try and keep it at this level, potentially go and make a move, but it's about who can find the rhythm quickly, who can find the move, who can find the weaknesses as well. When you're really up against some tough opponents, you will be looking for those weaknesses as much as you possibly can. Muscat going tight through the mine shaft he goes, and Manduka really pulling out a decent lead here, but he's not quite extending it at this moment in time. That's going to be maybe another lap or two, but look how close Muscat is getting to Baptista. Might have to go on the defensive in a couple of moments time here, but Muscat really trying to get that car through every single corner. We see the Ford Mustang of Agius, who's currently sitting in fifth. He's got to try and just keep digging at that Carabot car ahead of him.
Yeah, and that Ryan Carabot car, I think, is going to want to try and make some progress over the course of this race. They've got John Agius there in the Mustang behind, who will be certainly looking to try and get himself involved. There is Carabot then running through the opening corner, and he hasn't really taken to this in the same way that he's taken to the Formula One games, for example, where I think he's definitely got a better advantage on those compared to the competition here. I think that he is starting to get himself into that rhythm where he can now start to get closer and closer, and I think Carabot is not looking at this championship in terms of what can I do to win the championship. I think he's more looking at it by comparison out there here, Adam, and saying, well, my goal is to, by the end of this season, find a race win.
Absolutely, he'll be really looking to see if he can potentially just grow, and I think he's been doing that. If you look back to Zola, he's definitely made improvements, he's definitely made inroads on these race leaders, and we can carry on just keeping with this mid-engine Ferrari 296 Evo. He's really just trying to keep up with these top three guys. You know, they're some of the best as well. You just see some of the results that's happened in the last 4 races, and you can really just tell these are the guys you want to be carrying with. And if Carabot can just stay with them, there's definitely an opportunity. Wide moment there for De Baptiste. That's going to open up the eyes there of Muscat as well. And Carabot, if he can just link onto the back of that Bentley, he'll be trying to smooth sail, potentially even pass, but for sure just stay on the back of that Bentley for now. It's going to be such a tough challenge though.
1.1 seconds now, the gap at the front, and the pit window very firmly open. I wouldn't expect any drivers to jump in unless they get caught up in a bit of trouble out there on track, and it's been a lot of patience that's needed to be found in at the early goings then of this, and the gap's not really huge at this early stage, about 0.6 of a second and a lot of 1 seconds around. The closest battle out there on track was the move that was made last lap by Daryl Martinelli. Wide off the road goes Carabot. That might be a freebie there back there for John Agius, and he'll just sweep around on the back stretch here, heading over towards Sunset Bend, and he has got that sorted heading into Clubhouse. So John Agius up to 4th position. We've been seeing how the Agiuses really were able to jump up and increase their abilities out there with the results that came through to them over at Monza last time out 2 weeks ago, and they are hoping to do exactly the same again, take advantage of mistakes which they just did.
Yeah, it was a bit unfortunate there for Carabot. I think that he's still not quite used to the aerodynamics of that Ferrari GT3. Of course, a lot less than the single-seaters that he's been oh so dominant in. And of course, he's now having to switch over to a roofed GT3 car, which is of course not the easiest switch. Of course, 2 different games as well. Big slide there from Samuel Mifsud in his pursuit of Daryl Martinelli. Ferrari on Ferrari in that case. I think Chris Gatt has also had a moment there in the background. His icon tracker moving a little bit slowly on our little mini map that we have. But yeah, Carabot, going back to Carabot, of course, it's still something he needs to get used to. But I think by season's end, he should be in a good spot. Manduka still looking to be holding this lead out, but with Aaron De Baptiste with the fastest lap, trying to close it back up now to 0.8 of a second. Do we see another 3-car battle in the way of the top 3 here? Of course, our top 3 in the championship going at it here in Kyalami. It's about who's going to be making that first chess piece move to try and maybe go for an undercut, or maybe even an attempt at an overtake. Maybe even a little bit of a distraction to try and get them driving in the mirrors.
Well, I've just seen Ryan Carabot off the road again up the top of Barbecue Bend. So, yeah, it's again another place lost, this time to Denzel Agius. So, Ryan Carabot really struggling up the top of the hill. Maybe just trying to take a little bit too much. We take a little look at it there. That was the mistake that he made coming out of the corner, which opened it up on the inside for his teammate to jump on through Denzel Agius, who comfortably slid down the inside and said, thank you very much, I'll have 5th place for that. So as we take a look there at that was comfortably done and a wonderful move. But I think the key here is for those top 3, it is starting to congeal back closer together again. So I wonder right now here, Adam, whether it's going to be a case of they're waiting for the pit stop cycle.
Yeah, I do think that he'll potentially be waiting for that pit stop to come in. I think that Carabot might be wanting to get off those tyres, or he might be thinking he needs to get into a rhythm. We're not entirely sure what's going on in the mind of Ryan Carabot for the moment, but I think what we can understand is he's going to be very, very frustrated with himself, which is usual in a driver. You usually get frustrated in those moments. You push a little bit more, and that's where the mistakes go even further. Of course, dropping now down to 6th place. But I think his aim at this moment in time will just get a top 4, just be the best of the rest compared to that top 3. Try and get a top 4, maybe even a top 5, just to kind of lighten yourself a little bit as well. Just make sure you're not putting too much pressure on yourself, and just drive your race from there. That's what the number 13 Ferrari will have to do for the rest of the race, in my opinion. But of course, Jake, you might have something else to say about that.
Well, I think he will need a couple laps just to focus and then get back into the rhythm and show that pace off. 4th place, I think, would be quite nice, but first he's got to think about 5th and how he'll get by Denzel Agius, who is someone who goes from strength to strength during these races and takes a slightly wider line into Lecoq corner and then back down the hill over towards the mine shaft. So at least for the moment, Ryan Carabot will be happy in the sense that he's still in this race and he's there in 6th position, but he won't be happy at the 2 mistakes he's made at the same corner on back-to-back laps. I think those will wake him up a little bit. First lap of the race is currently in the back pocket of Aaron De Battista at the moment. That's where you can see the purple check mark next to him on the timing tower. And of course, if you are brand new to us here at Velocity Esports Racing, be you watching, of course, over on Twitch, on Kick, or of course over to us on YouTube, you can always make sure that you can give a like, a follow, whatever it is that you need to do to watch more amazing racing here from us, as Carabot continues to stalk Denzel Agius, his teammate, and doesn't get close enough. But up the Yuk Sky sweep and over towards Barbecue Bend turn 4, Sheldon Muscat is starting to think about whether he can line up a move on the McLaren of Aaron De Battista.
He is. You see how much he's really pushing there. Of course, that fastest lap tick mark is really showing the evidence, but that kind of trip through the grass, it's just that extra bit more evidence you need in your little scrapbook of an investigation. Is Muscat pushing for the position, or if he's just resting back for now? But you can see he's really just trying to get that car through all the heavy machinery of the Bentley V8 front-wheeled engine. Also really looking to see if he can make inroads on that McLaren, but you've really got to give credit to Manduka and De Battista for holding their own in these early stages. But I do believe that this could very much change very, very quickly if you are not keeping an eye on what's happening up ahead. So it'll be really one of these focus points to keep an eye out for the majority of the 35 minutes that we have remaining.
Yeah, and those 35 minutes are going to be important because we've been seeing really, it's at 22 and a half that we see it. We take a look at Adrian Manduka making his way through to the final corner of England, the Tiger corner out there on track and looking to try and really break away. But he hasn't had necessarily the ability to do that over the course of this race, which is why I think it's really clever here when you've got De Battista and Muscat, the two teammates who are looking to try and work together. It's all about sitting and realizing what can you do in a situation like this as we take the aerial view of Ryan Carabot in towards Crowthorne Corner, turn 2 out here on the track. And really, Adam, I think the key here for De Battista and Muscat, one driver's probably got to try and force the issue and pit a little bit earlier than the other two and try and get a little bit of an undercut strategy working here. Try and force the hand of Adrian Manduca, because if one goes short and one goes long, how does Adrian cover both moves?
It will be massively interesting, especially if you're Adrian Manduca. But I'm kind of more focused here on Muscat. Will Muscat go for an undercut? It's not usually what he seems to do. I think Muscat is the type of driver that likes to go long, especially when he feels confident. He'll only go for an undercut when he's not feeling confident, but he can keep up with the main three, which is exactly the position he's in at this moment in time. He is behind those top two, and he is in a position where he can make an undercut. But the big question is, will he have the pace? Well, of course, he's the championship leader for a reason, and it will be a big risk to try and make. But yeah, Manduca has a big yeah, he has a really big deal to kind of try and cover off. Of course, both of them are going to be so difficult. Look back to Ryan Carabot. He's now managed to try and get himself more refocused to try and get past Denzel Adjunit, and I think he's going to try and make a move. They head their way past the kink on towards Crowthorne Corner. Is he going to have a look up the inside here? No, he's just going to sit back here. Does Ryan Carabot, but he's right on the rear of that McLaren 720 GT3 Evo as he carries his way up the hill and in towards Barbecue Corner. Still no move in sight just yet.
Yeah, he's hoping for that pass, and he's stuck up at the top of the hill, but we do know that McLaren's very good in the straight line, and I think we're seeing it here. Ryan Carabot definitely with a Ferrari, which is a lot better for the middle sector out there on the lap. He takes a much narrower line as he goes through Sunset and now in towards the clubhouse corner, and the real middle sector, the meat and potatoes of the lap, the drop down the hill through this very fast SS section, which is a very quick fling back into line, dropping back up the hill then after the descent and over towards Leurcop Corner, and it's plateaued braking up at Leurcop, which makes it very easy to overcook the corner.
Yeah, you can very much do so. You just saw how blind it was going up that corner, and you kind of had that. Well, in real life, you would have that body distraction of your body leaning over to the left-hand side, being pushed on by the corner beforehand, and you'll have to straighten the car up, kind of get refocused before slamming on that brake pedal for that hairpin section. But Carabot, you can see there, just trying to follow the lines here of the McLaren up ahead, the 89. But we now look back to the number 14 Bentley, who's of course of Sheldon Muscat, still trying to stay with De Battista. And of course, being esports teammate in Intercom VMD SimSport teammate, we can kind of play with Manduca, of course not in the same esports team, so I wonder if there'll be like a little bit of an esports team kind of gang up here on the Ferrari Manduca. We'll have to really see how they play it, but I'm guessing it's going to be all for their own for now, which just deliveries that kind of take us into a bit of rivalry in there.
Well, he's going to start thinking here, Sheldon, that there's 50 points worth of difference in the championship, and with the 10 drivers that are here, as Carabot is in the pits currently at this moment, so he is taking the decision. He doesn't want to be stuck behind Denzel Adjis. He'll take his mandatory stop and go, and so that's the first taker in Ryan Carabot. I think Sheldon Muscat realises, yes, Aaron's got every right to fight here, but if you're 50 points back and it's only 20 points that you're dropping per round out there at the moment, with the fact that we've got 10 runners here and it's 9 points available for that 10th place, you're not really in much of a position to fight for this championship by comparison if Sheldon keeps it on the road for all the 4 rounds which are there. I think that's what he's thinking about, and thinking, well, if you can't go out there and make the pass happen and get the move sorted, then I might as well just say, you know what, I'm the fastest Intercom VMD car, I need to get through, I need to challenge Adrian Manduca and take as many points as possible out of him at this point, considering the gap between first and second. If Manduka were to win 4 straight here, and it would be 4 seconds for Muscat, Muscat would lose the championship by 4.
Yeah, it would. It's a very interesting scenario to be in at this moment in time of the championship. You've really got to get on your simulator, on the saddle, and really have to go out and practice for the last 3 rounds, but a little bit more than you usually would. So it is a bit of a scenario here for Muscat that he usually hasn't been in for this season. Of course, the only time where he has not been on the top step was at Zolder. That was a little test, remember, back to the start of the season where he just didn't take another set of tires, and of course and Manduka managed to get him around the Belgian circuit. Now we're on the 5th round of the championship with 5 rounds deep, and he's learned from his mistakes at this moment in time. They are now kind of more experienced. They know what to do. I think Muscat knows exactly what he's got to do here. And well, I think he knows exactly what he wants to do. We're not entirely sure because, of course, we're not in his shoes right now.
Well, the question will be, I think, happy to hold, but we'll see what the pit stops do as De Battista closing in that gap then on the Ferrari of Adrian Manduka, who has been diligent at the front, and in comes Aaron De Battista. So I think he makes the call here. He's just got to be down at 50 kilometers an hour down here on what is one of the slowest pit lanes that we have this season. It was a must-need pit stop for De Battista, and he will force the strategy into play early in comparison to everybody else out there. Sheldon Muscat now with a license. He's like 1.6 seconds though, and maybe I would have done it the other way around, seeing that Muscat was starting to fall back.
It would be very interesting now because, of course, now Muscat has got a little bit of clean air to deal with. He doesn't have that Ferrari just in the middle of him and his championship rival. He is now free to do whatever he wants. He can go long. He can go and pit now and try and cover off that potential undercut from De Battista. I think if you're Manduka, you have to respond this lap. There is no way you are staying out for a long period of time. It doesn't matter that your championship rival is behind you. Think about what has just happened behind, and that thing is De Battista has made it into the pit lane. There's like a yellow flag out there. That's for the 89. So it looks like Denzel Adjis in the McLaren has made a little bit of an error. He's not moving a lot on a map. I don't know if he's buried it into the barriers, but it doesn't look like so. I think he's had a spin up at the top of the hill, so he's managed to get going now. And at this moment in time, we look back to the lead battle here, Jake.
Yeah, I think the issue was over at the clubhouse corner, and having a spin there would have been most likely of the outcomes, and that is exactly what Ryan Carabot would have music to his ears for, realising that he'll get the jump now in the stop on Denzel Adjis, who has now fallen behind Jamie Smith, and Muscat staying out trying to chase, but not your race leader, Adrian Manduka, who of course did have to cover that move off and has dived into the pit. So Muscat now on his own, out in front, trying to go long in the Bentley to get a big overcut working with fresher tyres compared to his competitors out there. We'll see where in comparison this is all going to line up, because that's Darryl Martinelli trying to find himself a way through on Denzel Adjis, which will now be for 5th position. But we do have to keep an eye on car 26 and Aaron De Battista, who is making his way through Cheetah Corner and over towards Ingwer Corner. Pit stop pretty much complete now for Adrian Manduka, and he'll be looking at getting that long launch onto the front stretch, and that big lunge that is there, and that gap is closing and closing and closing for car 26, but I think he's going to be a little bit short in terms of what he wants, and I think Manduka's got the stop he's wanted.
Absolutely, he has. That's going to prove crucial in the race now. So Adrian Manduka comes out in a net lead of the race, but overall in 8th. He's only the 3rd car to come into the pit lane here, which you continue to watch here with Darryl Martinelli. See if he can potentially get get a move on, try and get past Denzel Agis in that number 89 McLaren, which has seen that off happen. And Sheldon Muscat using every single piece of the road, and he dives off into the pit lane down to 50 kilometers an hour through the hairpin. He goes Lingui, and now he's coming in for his pit stop. This is going to be crucial here. Has Sheldon Muscat done enough to potentially cause an upset? Will he take on maybe less fuel as well? That could be an option. He could have maybe overfueled to try and maybe go a whole race, but we'll have to see what happens in terms of the pit stop time. More pits is coming in as well here. John Agius and Samuel Mifsud as well, so they are coming in. John Agius in the Ford Mustang, as it looks like Jamie Smith now takes the lead of the race.
Yeah, so Smith, for the first time this season, is going to take a lap at the front of the field and see everybody else make the call to jump on in behind. So he finds himself in, so Denzel Agius still out there, so too Daryl Martinelli, and also you've got Chris Gatt, who is still out there at the moment. Muscat now will be leading the pits. There's Aaron De Battista. This was the key to the stops, whether that Bentley would come out ahead or behind, and currently it's a case of, it looks like ahead of Sheldon Muscat, so it's pretty much as you were from the pit stops. And Aaron De Battista, I think, will now look at this and go, right, I've got a bigger gap than what I had before, I've got to start attacking.
Yep, it's going to be all guns blazing here with De Battista really looking to try and make inroads here on Manduka. It's getting a little bit unfortunate there, but yeah, I think he's going to have to go on his own for now. He's got to get past definitely De Battista for sure, and just try and minimize the damage that he has put himself in for qualifying. But at this moment in time, it is Manduka who's got that upper hand. He will close the advantage in the championship unless anything major happens. Right now, if you're Adrian Manduka, you're in that number 93 Ferrari, your main aim here is just to stay on track for the last 22.5 minutes.
Well, 22.5 minutes worth of racing is still half the race to go. They have got their pit stops out the way, and they've done so early. Traffic in front of Adrian Manduka is actually for position. That is Chris Gatt. He's trying to find a way by, and he's struggled to find a way through there at the cheetah corner, and I think that's just given the advantage back to De Battista to fall back within a second, to have a better run of slipstream going along the front stretch, and not what Adrian Manduka was hoping for, to battle Chris Gatt, who was diving into the pits. It's cost him one corner and a couple tenths of a second, but De Battista now has the life link that he wants. He'll get the tow bar, he'll attach it onto the back and say, drive me around this circuit until the three drivers in front have made their stops and I've got a chance to win this race.
Yeah, he's going to also be looking for that race win. You cannot sit in a race car seat and not think about going for a race win here. De Battista, you see there, still with the fastest lap to this race. And that number 26 McLaren 720 GT3 still really running as much as he possibly can in a good state there. There is James Smith in the number 1 Ferrari. He's still trying to get his laps out in front. The Knights Carousel esports team with the huge Malta flag, the symbol on the top there. Really lovely livery. I've been singing the praises all throughout the season, but in he comes into the pit lane, gets it down to 50 kilometers an hour, and he will serve that pit stop. Will roughly come out potentially behind the Ford Mustang of Agius here. So that's particularly where he comes in, and in fact everyone is now making their stops here. So Smith, Denzel Agius and Daryl Martinelli, and it's now back to as you were, with Manduka will retake the lead of the race with Aaron De Battista only 6 tenths of a second. It might actually be a little bit less than that now.
I'm quite interested here with Karabot's early stop, because John Agius has actually come out about 1.3 seconds behind. So that's really going to give a lot of information. With Denzel Agius' spin, he'll certainly fall out behind as well. Jamie Smith, I'm expecting to be behind those two as well. But De Battista now are firmly back up into second position. They've pulled out 3 seconds of a margin here overall in this race. to Sheldon Muscat. It's now the time where De Battista is given full license after his huge mistake on the formation lap last time out at Monza. This is something that Aaron De Battista is trying desperately to get back into. He would have been right in the championship picture with a great result. Now rushing through here over at the clubhouse corner and over towards the Essex once again. De Battista now is trying to think about when can I pick and choose my moment.
Yeah, there's so many different places where you can make that move, but you do have to get your car there, make yourself very apparent, and then you can go and lunge up the inside or the outside, whatever you've kind of put yourself in a position of. Duke is still looking really, really quick here. You cannot falter that pace he is out in front. He still has the pressure of a McLaren just lurking in the mirrors, and it is very different from the single-seater race you may see on the V1 Malta series, on the Formula 1 game that you've been seeing the last couple of seasons now, because with GT Racing, they're running so incredibly close. Every single lap, you will potentially, if you're a leader, you will see a car in your rear view mirror, and it's such a daunting sight, especially compared to those single-seater races you'll see on the Monster Esports Racing channel. De Battista really now just trying different lines, and we saw Manduka went tight with their De Battista going a bit wider. They launched their way up through Duke's Way Sweep and in towards Barbecue Corner. De Battista just trying absolutely everything. Big hunk of curve there. They continue their way and on towards Sunset and the clubhouse here, Jake.
Yeah, so this is where Aaron De Battista's got to be really, really switched on and try and hold himself in a way that's going to keep himself in this race. It's going to keep himself that opportunity. He will also realise that he doesn't necessarily have to do all the work himself. Sheldon Muscat's pulled in 0.4 of a second over the last couple of laps or so, and look how heavy Adrian Manduka was over the curve. He is wrestling this circuit here, and he's trying to use every inch of track available in comparison to what De Battista is doing at this moment in time, who's slightly later into the apex. Manduka is driving this circuit at 100% just to stave off the challenges of those two drivers behind.
He has to, in all honesty. If you drive at a 90%, you'll find with that car, that McLaren, all over the rear view, of course. You do not want to be driving at any circuit at 80-90%. You have to maximize it as much as possible. You see there De Baptiste doing exactly that. The kicks of dust and some grass going through the air as De Baptiste continues to wheel his way onto the back of Manduka. He's gaining a 10th here, losing a 10th there, gaining a 10th, losing a 10th, and Muscat putting in a fastest lap of the race so far. That's going to draw the Bentley closer and closer in, but does he have the pace to potentially mount the challenge? Of course, pitted last of the trio that we're currently watching with De Baptista. I think he's going to start getting a little bit agitated behind that Ferrari and wants to be making the move very, very soon. He's just got to try and put that car right on the rear wing and get it all full of mirrors. He wants that Ferrari to just be filled with McLaren, papaya or orange, whatever you want to call it, in those mirrors. That is how to get Manduka driving off the driving with the mirrors, and of course potentially opening up a gap somewhere on the circuit.
Well, for Adrian Manduka, he's doing what he needs to. Sheldon Muscat now with the purple check mark next to his name, which indicates he now has the fastest lap of the race, and that's how tough they're having to push here over Leurkop Corner and down the hill through the mine shaft and over towards the Crocodiles here, which is the difficult right-hand bend. It's so open, you could definitely throw the car in on the inside, but you've got to really, really get it slowed up on the apex. I think that's the big difference maker and what makes the Crocodiles one of the great overtaking places on this circuit here, Adam. And it might be a place for the last lap for De Batista. If you throw it down there, you got a chance. And speaking of drivers who are looking to throw down and have a chance, John Agis has been doing very well. He's closed in that gap from about 1.7 seconds, now down to 1 second. Yellow flags are waving because I believe Chris Gatt, was it? No, it would have been Daryl Martinelli who's had a spin up over the top of the hill, and that would have been at Clubhouse Corner.
Oh, that's going to be a little bit of a frustrating moment there for Martinelli, of course. a driver that worked really, really hard to get his great result in Monza, and unfortunately just not quite had the same story coming down to South Africa this week. John Adges really trying to work that Ford Mustang. Of course, it's been really interesting seeing how the Ford Mustang does, and it's quite more of a heavy tin-top circuit with a lot of straight line speed with the V8 it's got in the front engine. But Adji is really another one of those drivers that you'll see normally in that midfield. He carries through all the speed through Sunset and on towards Clubhouse Corner, hard on the brakes, and you'll see the nose just dip down as he turns his way through, and then using all the body roll, but he's just continued to gain here on Carabot. Carabot will definitely see this, and with the oldest tyres on in the field, I think that he's going to be feeling the pressure very, very soon. Back to our front three.
Yeah, and those front three are now just thinking about, well, how much longer are we going to be able to hold and wait? Manduka's pace is enough to keep Aaron De Battista just behind, and De Battista, I think, would love to be up at the top. Look how hard he's pushing there through at Cheetah Corner, very much grabbing the grass there on what is a very tough penultimate corner on circuit. You've got the massive anti-cut curve there on the inside, which certainly launches the car up in the air if you clatter it any sort of shade of wrong. But that section of road back from 1993 to 2008 was one of the most difficult chicanes in the world of motorsport, because you had to slow it right down for a right left, which was over 90 degrees each way you went through that chicane. So I think we've certainly seen this as a section of track which has been a little bit adapted, and there you can see in the background Sheldon Muscat grabbing the grass on the exit of Barbecue Bend, and that's going to cost him 1/10 of a second. And speaking of battling, John Agius close at Crowthorne, thinking about it up at Barbecue, where we've seen so many issues out there for Sheldon Muscat, and now the Mustang is starting to prioritise here against the Ferrari, which will be fading late when it comes to his tyre life.
Yeah, the tyre life has been on for quite some time. I believe it's almost kind of within the half an hour. It's been on the car, so the tyres are all these signs to really go off around this circuit. We've had a lot of corners and really just stress the tyre life with the Ferrari, and we carry on with Agius. Where will he look to make that overtaking opportunity? He can't do it up at the top here because he's just not a little bit too far back as he heads in toward the hairpin. Now he'll head through down the mine shaft and in toward the sweeping section. I'm not sure if you're going to be getting him in this last section, but potentially that first corner is where we start to see potential in making a move. I think for sure there will be a little bit of an upper hand with John Adges. He looks to take fourth place away from Ryan Carabot.
He'd love that fourth position and to continue on, which has been a very good turn of form here in the mid part of the season. A lot more narrow through Ingwe Corner, the final corner out there on track, and suddenly the gap at the front of the field has extended up over 1 second. So Aaron De Battista's not been able to get what he wants. Defensive line taken by Carabot. Big lunge at Crowthorne down the inside, but later on the brakes, getting it sorted quite nicely there is Ryan Carabot. The fight for power on the exit still there from the Mustang, but can't quite get the angle the Ferrari holds.
Oh, I thought Adju was going to go for it there on the inside, and when I realised that the Ferrari was coming across, I was so worried that the Ford was actually going to go into the back of the Ferrari. Luckily, some really, really good racing from the pair of them. Very experienced. Well, of course, Carabot a little less so, but he's learned from the single seaters what to do and not what to do in his single seat from his single seater days, and of course, still learning the ropes of GT racing, what he can and cannot do. But Adjis there, really trying to push as much as he possibly can as he heads into all the uphill hairpin section, and really seeing that gap just start to disintegrate with Carabot's tyres as well starting to fade a little bit.
Well, with Carabot maybe in a bit of trouble here in the later stages of this race with 10 minutes and 21 seconds remaining. It's going to be a question about whether there is a bit more to be found out on track here by John Agius, and whether he can find that move, because he's certainly been angling a lot better than some of the other drivers out there for getting the pass done at Crowthorne. He's certainly got a great turn of pace when he comes out to the final corner, and the pure grunt of the Mustang has been wonderful to see out there. I think he's not close enough this time to make that move as he runs through the tiny kink there and over towards Crowthorne corner. He might take a couple laps here, Adam, just to sit back and wait, see what Ryan Carabot does before he goes and attacks again.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how he approaches it. Of course, not many laps. Not many laps remaining, 9.5 minutes still on the clock. We look back here to the race lead. Manduka has extended that gap out to 1.2 seconds. And I just want to kind of think about here, Sheldon Muscat. We knew that he was going to be a potential threat, but he just hasn't been the same. He's not been that very attacking driver that we're all used to, and one that's just snapped the lead and run away with it. He's really been kind of stuck in this little box here of third place that he's been driving for the majority of the race. I'm not entirely sure if it's been down to strategy, if it's down to the circuit, or if it's completely something out of the realms that has seen him potentially fall down this far, not being able to really make a mark on a potential lead of the race.
Well, he'd love to try and get up there, but you're now seeing here that Adrian Manduka is flying, and Aaron De Battista is the one driver who is unable to keep that pace. Sheldon Muscat very much even at the moment in pace compared to the Ferrari driver who leads this one outright. And Sheldon Muscat here must be thinking about, well, I'm starting to close this gap down, maybe seconds on the cards. And remember, it's an 11-point swing, ladies and gentlemen, between first and third. There are 30 points on offer for a race win. There are 19 points on offer for a third place finish. The difference in the championship, if it finishes like this, with 3 rounds to go, the gap would be down to just 9 points in the championship. And I think Adrian Manduka knows it. Agius over the top of the hill, hoping that he's going to get a launch here against Ryan Carabot for 4th place. Over towards the Sunset Bend, not quite the one at Sebring, but still one that catches the eye as you go around.
Yeah, lovely little iteration there of Sunset Corner here at Kyalami. Agius really trying to push the limits as much as he possibly can. Carabot, you can see, he probably senses a weakness here that we can't quite see here from the box. Of course, we're not always looking at this battle for 4th and 5th, but it is one that we've pinpointed as well as the one up at the top of the standings, that top 3, the championship contenders. Who are just continually locked together in this tough fight. But Agius is still looking for an opportunity to try and sweep through. That number 52 Ford Mustang has been really going well, and if he can take a 4th play, I think Angelo Agius will be very, very happy with that, and it will be his best best race finish ever in this championship. But at this moment in time, he's settling with his equal best of 5th as Carabot just continues to hustle around this circuit, play defensive, but I can sense a move here because the straight line speed of that Ford Mustang may look to potentially be what he needs. Very defensive is Ryan Carabot, moving to that outside lane. He's going to try and go all the way around the outside, or will he try and switch back here? No, very defensive there from Carabot. He might try into barbecue corner, but he's not going to sense it. Oh, defensive there from Carabot. He's continuing to stick his car into a good place. Denzel Agius sweeping up the inside there of Smith, and that is a move done down there in toward the left-hander.
Yeah, comfortably getting the pass done. And that one for Denzel Agius he'll be happy with. And John is hoping for a pass over at the top of the hill, and he gets a little bit of good drive as well. He might try and throw it into the S's. He'll have to follow through here and really get the line up. Lurkop corner, I think, is where Agius wants Carabot, and Carabot runs wide off the exit of the corner. It'll have to be to the outside line searching. He gets earlier on the brakes here. Carabot's covered the line off perfectly, but he can still attack down the hill over to the Crocodiles. if you've certainly got a case of swimming around with a couple there of those biting corners that comes along left. Down through the mine shaft, big wide open line taken to defend that one goes Karabot. Now drive off the exit, why don't you? That's where it's going to be all about it for John Agis, and again, he's just not in a place where he can go and unlock that move. But again, he sets it up nicely, and he's close enough for Crowthorne Corner.
He is now, and of course it's going to be another drag race all the way down this straight. This time he is a lot closer as they head their way through the right-hander of the king. Where is Karabot going to take that car? He stays right to the left-hand side and goes right around the outside. Agis up to P4, his best race position on the line here, and that's a beautiful move. I think the Karabot just stamped on the brakes a bit too early because he was on that tighter line. And unfortunately for him, drops a place, and the tires continue to go here. And now Agis puts himself up into a brilliant P4.
Yeah, he looked like he was about to fly 3 leagues off the road there at the opening corner at Crowthorne, but he was very much in a position where he didn't have to worry about it. Big wide line by Aaron De Battista, who I think is starting to fade by being the earliest driver to make the pit stop, and now Sheldon Muscat sits at 0.6 of a second with 4 minutes left, and this is a 5-point battle for him in this championship, an important 5 points that he's trying to find himself forward, because he's trying to deal with a bit of damage limitation here today. Muscat has not been the best driver out there, but he knows that he's got to get by Aaron De Battista, and he's got to get by him quickly in that Bentley in comparison to the McLaren that he's got there just in front. Rushing over towards Crowthorne Corner. Will he be close enough to send a lunge up to the inside? No, not yet, but it's the closest he's been all race long.
He has been, and he's really been feeling a little bit of frustration as Sheldon Muscat. He's usually a race winner, but to be a P3 is not what he wants. He wants to take that second place. He wants to take the best result that he possibly can. And when a race win is out of the question with 3 minutes left on the clock, a second place is what he wants to take, and he wants it now. Muscat will be looking for those opportunities. You already know the corner, of course, where you see all the moves, the end of that long straight is where it usually is. Big kick from the rear there of Muscat, so he's really on the limit in these last couple of moments. It's just about trying to find that final place to make that move.
Well, he's got to try and work out where and when. That's going to be important. There's a bit of lap traffic in front, which I believe is going to be GAT, that they're going to have to try and get around. And if he finds that pass and he finds that position, he's going to be someone smiling from ear to ear when that happens. With Adrian Manduka just in front, the clock's going to be very important here in terms of when they cross, because it's the difference between 1 or 2 laps to go in this race. And we'll have to keep an eye out on the lap times that they've been doing over the course of this race as well to determine how long they've got left. Rushing through now out of Cheetah over to Ingwa Corner, the Tiger Corner, and over towards the line once again. It's going to be about 1:50 on the clock remaining, so this is going to be very tight to be whether it's going to be 1 or 2 laps to go. It will be 2 laps to go, which will be delight for Sheldon Muscat and horror for Aaron De Battista.
It will be very, very difficult there for De Baptista to try and just hold on. Muscat will be absolutely relishing this opportunity of being handed those potential 2 laps to try and make that maneuver. Both of them going onto the grass, kicking up the dirt, but they're really just pushing as we approach 6 p.m. in virtual South African time. But I think Muscat's lost a little bit of momentum. He's dropped to about 6 to 7 tenths back now, and they head their way through Clubhouse and through this sweeping section of corners. The sun's starting to get low on the Kylami circuit, and Muscat really just trying to relish the challenge he's got, trying to overtake that McLaren, and he knows it's not going to be easy.
Well, as the sun starts to set here, Adam, the question very much is this: do you think Aaron De Battista has enough to hold?
Well, I think that he's been showing really good pace over the last couple of moments, but Muscat has really been a driver on the prowl, and I think this is going to be a very decisive corner coming up to that really tight left-hander. Manduka's really been out in control here, and of course he's got one lap remaining, which is going to be scaring the living daylights out of De Baptista. They head their way through that final corner and on towards that timing beam.
It's going to be all important here. This has been a wonderfully constructed race from the front from Adrian Manduka. He hasn't given away the lead except to make his pit stop out there over the course of this race. That's the smile that he can hold on to. You look behind at De Baptista and Muscat, and it looks like De Baptista is able to hold at Crowthorne Corner, but Muscat, the closest he's been all race long, as he now drives up the jukebox suite, the Yuxke suite. And now, looking at the Yuxke and over towards Barbecue, he throws it in, and he slides through the middle of the corner, off into the grass slightly, goes De Baptista, and ultimately the two, making the same mistake out of each other, means it's parity as they head through Sunset, which for Sheldon Muscat was not what he was hoping for. On the brakes again, as the big brick-like structure of the Bentley can't deal with the, I would say, the more streamlined structure there of the McLaren. After the clubhouse, down the hill through the S's, and maybe Leurcop Corner is where Muscat's going to have to try and throw something at it if he wants that second place. Will he have that opportunity? No, not at Leurcop, but now the Crocodiles is maybe the last great place where he can find some moves. He goes so shallow off the exit of the corner and really tries to get that run. They know that Adrian Manduka, they can't catch in 2.6 seconds, but now here comes the chance for Sheldon Muscat. Does he think about it? No, he can't quite get there. He's now going to have to rely on that final corner of Ingwer if he wants to try and get this one to second place. De Baptista with a strong and staunch hold, but nobody can catch this guy. We thought it might have been a Muscat runaway. Adrian Manduka will pick his second race win up of the season, and he will close the championship gap down. And the question will be to how much? And the answer is 9.
Oh, that is going to be an amazing finish. And as our 3 championship contenders go into one shot, we've seen an absolutely amazing race there with Adrian Manduka coming out on top. But what about that last lap battle from De Baptista and Muscat? Oh, I thought I was going to have to change a little bit of pre-planned statistics on my spreadsheet, but nope, I didn't have to. De Baptista heads out ahead of Muscat, and I think Muscat will be a little bit worried about that championship lead. I'm sure his focus will be going on to the next round, round 6 of the championship. But the man of the moment, I think Manduka, is going to be absolutely beaming with delight in that Ferrari and thinking to himself, game on.
Oh, it very much is game on. He has halved and a little bit more the championship gap up at the front of the field, which just goes to show you how important it is to continually get the results that you need to. It's a case now of 3-2 between Manduka and Muscat, who have been battling each other so long in terms of the Maltese scene and hoping to get what they want. But Adrian will be the one smiling here today with that race victory, knowing that he has taken it over to Suzuka, and that gap is going to be a little bit less out there. Some great results, though, for the likes of John Agius, for example, in 4th position. He'll be happy with that. So too will Samuel Mifsud there in that 6th position. So the mid-pack points, I think, are certainly going to be some to smile about as well.
Absolutely. I think Carabot will be a little bit frustrated that he only finished 5th, but he had a really good effort, especially with the early mistakes he was making. He really put his head down, did the job at hand, and came away with a good result. But I think also, of course, John Agius in that Ford Mustang has been such an amazing driver throughout this race. He's really put his head down. I think it's been a little bit of a silent killer. We didn't really realize that Ford had that pace in it until we saw it was batting away on those last couple of laps. So really big result there for the Ford Mustang, taking its best result. Really big points there for the Ford team.
Yeah, they'll be very happy about that, and they'll be very happy heading over in 1 week's time here with Velocity Esports Racing over to Mie Prefecture, Japan, and the Suzuka International Racing Course. You can catch that in 7 days with us, same time, same place here with Velocity Esports Racing. This has, of course, been the ACER Malta GT3 Championship, which has been brought to you with Gaming Malta in collaboration with Hyundai, Intercom, Sunshine Snacks, Level Academy, and with JCap. From Adam Reed and myself, Jake Sperry, that was a race where you get 2 weeks to prep, an extra week on top of what they had initially, and the extra week pays off for Adrian Manduka. From the front, he was at an arm's length of everyone else behind. Muscat couldn't do much. De Battista defeated, and now to Suzuka they go. A gap of 9 championship points now, as that gap has closed down even further, and now it's going to be a case of who makes the statement case. It's 3-2 now in terms of wins, and we'll see you in Japan.